Section 15 of Orpheus with his Lute by W.M.L. Hutchinson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Perfect Song. The house of Pluto stood in the midst of a garden where white poppies bloomed, and a fountain made faint music in the drowsy air. No other sound broke the stillness of that twilit pleasance. It seemed deserted and given over to slow decay. Lichen stained the dark marble of the fountain basin. Rank grass waved high over the lawns, and in the dim green alleys pomegranate trees stooped their boughs earthward under the load of ungarnered fruit. And as Orpheus came to the stately palace portal, he marked how gray mold clung to lintel and threshold, and the great house itself seemed well nigh ruinous. Through the wide-flung doors he passed, and through empty halls that echoed to his footfall, into a presence chamber where a king and queen sat enthroned. The king's gloomy brow was bent upon the ground. His queen leaned forward a little, her beauteous head upturned, like one who hearkens for a summons, and below her diadem Orpheus saw a chaplet of spring flowers. Now must the minstrel put his fate to the touch. He struck a throbbing chord upon his lute, and with eyes fixed on Persephone began to sing. Such a song was that the iron brow of Pluto relaxed while he listened, and when Orpheus paused, he cried, "Sing on, minstrel divine! I know thee not, but full surely thou art one of the heaven-dwellers." "Dread king," answered Orpheus, "I am but a mortal whom death has not yet claimed." "How hast thou dared, then," said Apollo, "to cross the unpermitted ferry? What hope misplaced made thee so hardy as to adventure thyself in these realms whence none return?" For all reply, Orpheus touched the lute anew, and the story of his love and grief broke from his lips in the self-same passionate strain the Muses heard erewhile. That supreme lay drew tears down Pluto's rugged cheek. As the last cadence died away, he turned silently to Persephone and laid his hand on hers. Joy dawned in the pale queen's eyes. "Lord," she said, "these tears tell me that the minstrel has not pleaded in vain, else would I too entreat for him the boon he craves." "It is granted, my queen," answered he, and pointed with his iron scepter towards the threshold. Orpheus turned and saw two figures standing there, and knew one of them for Hermes, the shepherd of souls. The other, whom he led by the hand, was a bride, veiled and crowned, in her saffron marriage robe. "Eurydice!" he cried in a broken voice, and sprang to clasp her, but the wand of Hermes waved him back. "Touch her not, Orpheus," said Persephone softly. "She belongs not to thee, but to us until the moment when she sees again the light of the sun. And by the law of the nether powers thou art forbidden to look on thy ransomed bride till then. Go now, happy minstrel, on the way wherein Hermes shall lead thee, but take heed thou look not once behind, for Eurydice will follow with unveiled face." Then Hermes, beckoning with his hand, went forth of Pluto's dwelling, and Orpheus followed, but not on the road he had come. For a little way beyond the garden of poppies they entered a door into a gray hillside. There the shepherd god placed an arm about Orpheus and rose swiftly upward through gloom profound. But when light began to filter through the darkness and wafts of fresh, pure air blew in their faces, Hermes set him gently down upon a rocky stairway that wound still upward out of sight. "I come no further," said his guide. "Short is now thy path to the free light and air of heaven that stream hitherward through a cavern's mouth." "But Eurydice, is she with us still?" said Orpheus doubtingly. "Hush," answered Hermes, "she is close to thee as thy shadow. Speak not, look not back, but press onwards. Reach but the cavern threshold, and all is won." With that he was gone, and Orpheus hastened towards the increasing light. Breathlessly he listened for a footfall behind him, for the least rustle of a trailing robe, and heard only the beating of his own heart. Still he toiled upward, wrestling at every step with an agony of longing. Soon the path ascended less steeply, and the rocky vault rose higher overhead. Already now he walked in subdued daylight, and could see a patch of sky framed in the cavern arch. Then, at the very threshold of the fair, sunlit world, hunger for the beloved face beat down the barrier of his will. He turned and looked back into the shadows. There stood Eurydice, one look into the dear eyes that clung to his, one silent look wherein the whole of love was caught up and uttered once for all. This much was granted him who, for her sake, had traversed the kingdom of the dead. But with the passing of that supreme moment, her wistful face receded from him like a vision, and was lost amid the cavern's inner gloom. Vainly Orpheus flung himself into the thickening shades, vainly called upon her name in a storm of weeping. His outstretched arms clasped but empty air, and for all answer to his cries a mocking echo rang through the grot. Eurydice! Eurydice! Suddenly the ivory lute, the lute whose harmonies had vanquished powers inexorable only for this, was shivered in the minstrel's hand against some jutting rock, and fell at his feet with a drear and dying wail of the silvern strings. At that sound, as it were the knell of hope and light and life, he cast himself down in the darkness beside his ruined treasure, and a deeper night closed over his soul. Lying there tranced with anguish, Orpheus knew not whose faithful love sought and found him, or how Calliope and her sisters bore him tenderly forth and took his broken lute to their keeping forever. When he came to himself, he lay alone on the hillside without the cavern, and behold, a great stone was rolled to the mouth of its doorway. And presently he saw that the mountain landscape around him was familiar. These were the hills of Thrace, and not far off the Hebrus rolled down to the city of the ancient king. No will had Orpheus to bend his steps thitherward or stray further in the world. Here would he weep his life away beside the portal, closed to him forever, where he had looked his last on her to whom that look was a second death. The gods never forgave. Not all his tears could atone for one moment's madness, and not of them would he implore his pardon. But when at last death made him free of the forbidden land, he knew that Eurydice's smile of forgiveness would greet and bless him in the cheerless asphodel meadow. So for a while he dwelt solitary, with roots and berries for his only fare. He gave no thought to his lost lute, and had it been restored to him, he must have shrunk from the touch and sight of it, believing he had renounced utterly the art that had but half redeemed his loved one. But song was not dead within him, and soon it a little eased his burdened heart to sing, though falteringly and low, of the beauty and tender grace that were gone. Then it was that companions came to him on the pine-clad mountain. Stealthily they gathered about the singer and watched him with a dumb pity in their eyes. Lions and spotted pards were there, and the velvet-coated deer, and many a gaunt gray wolf and prowling fox. The wood-pigeon came fluttering from her nest on high. The bright-eyed squirrel left his hoard half-garnered. All the wild things, great and small, were drawn to the feet of Orpheus, listening to the voice that charmed away their feuds and fears. Yes, many a day that gentle spell was wrought among the Thracian hills, until the fierce sleek beasts of prey would follow the minstrel like a faithful guard, and lick his feet as they crouched before him, and the small birds would nestle on his shoulder, nor lived there one of earth's creatures but made lament for him when he was passed away. Now, on a moonless midnight, Orpheus arose from the cavern threshold, for burning thoughts had driven slumber afar, and he wandered in his restless pain to the banks of Hebrus. And suddenly torches flared about him, and a deafening uproar of drums and cymbals, mingled with piercing cries, smote upon his ears. It was the wild-eyed rout of Bacchus, speeding to their revel on the mountains. Women all, they swept along in tumultuous whirling dance, with brandished ivy wands and flying hair, to their own dinning music. The divine frenzy was upon them, and woe to him who crossed their path. In an instant the foremost of the crew had sprung upon Orpheus. "A victim!" they shrieked. "The god hath sent his priestesses a lamb for the sacrifice." Ah, what could his 4-foot guard have availed him now? In the strength of their God-sent madness, the handmaids of Bacchus would have torn a lion limb from limb. Not the lute Apollo gave, nor the strain Pluto heard enthralled, could have saved the minstrel. The full-throated melody of all the Muses had been drowned in the tempest of barbaric dissonance that raged around him. As a swimmer sinks amid the roar of buffeting waves, so his fair, laureled head sank in a whirlpool of tossing arms and maddened faces, to rise no more. The river naiads, peering from their sedgy couch at break of day, saw a still, upturned face float by on the gray tide of swift-rolling Hebrus. Golden hair made a glory round the pallid brow. The lips, cold in death, yet murmured faintly the name of Eurydice. Then arose a voice of sighing and of weeping along the river shores, the voice of all the gentle nymphs of meadow and stream, complaining loud and crying, "Orpheus is dead, the sweet singer will never more return." All the hills and vales echoed back the cry, "Orpheus is dead," and all the woods made moan for the beloved minstrel. But on that day blossoms till then unknown shone fair in the island valleys of Elysium, for a new flower is born there whenever the souls of true lovers meet at last, and of such were Orpheus and his Eurydice. Earth has grown old and sad since he wandered, lute in hand, through the green solitudes and dreamed his dream of the perfect song. To him alone of her minstrel children it was granted to sing it in the springtime of the world. But in every age the same high dream has inspired the musician and the poet. Unsung, unheard, save by the inward ear, that melody lives on eternal. Its echoes found way through the sealed sense of Beethoven, and haunted the pensive youth of him who, dreaming in English woodlands of the muse-loved glades of Greece, longed for power to bid the soul of Orpheus sing such notes as, warbled to the string, drew iron tears down Pluto's cheek, and made hell grant what love did seek. End of The Perfect Song. Read by Mark Harrington, Framingham, Massachusetts. End of Orpheus with His Lute, Stories of the World's Springtime by W.M.L. Hutchinson.